Okay, our first speaker is Steve Sprinkel. Do I need to introduce you again?
Go right ahead.
Steve farms 12 organic acres in Ojai and develops a lot of energy to training farmers as well as consumer education. He and his wife, Olivia Chase, have operated an all-organic grocery, cafe, bakery called The Farmer and the Cook since 2001. Steve has served for 15 years as the president of the Ojai Center for Regenerative Agriculture and is a former board member and president of the Cornucopia Institute.
Thank you. Thanks. It's nice to be here today. The title of our presentations generally focus on creating just, local, organic food systems. So if we just break it down word by word, just would be fair. And to be fair, I can't escape it from it being primarily about money. And it's about fairness. Also is about how you treat people, and fairness also is the expectations that a proprietor might have with regard to how they conduct their business. And so we qualify quite well in all of those regards with regard to how we treat people and the sense of empowerment for all of our employees. We try to be hands-off. We try to not interfere. We tend to see that they all rise to the occasion, and when they don't and they just dog it, they're gone. But I've had well over 1,000 of them in 17 years. Well over 1,000 employees. I've only fired maybe 20. I've had to fire one boy 3 times. But you see, that's an indication of how just I am. Because I gave him another shot until finally I'd had it, and he moved to Oregon. So that's one part of justice. The other part of justice is the money, and so we've tried our very best to reach the expectation in California of hitting that $15 an hour minimum wage. But of course, even $15 an hour is not going to cut it. Ojai had a bad rental market before the fire, and it's only been compounded worse since then. So $15 is a scary thing for a lot of people, but we welcome it. If we'd never raised the minimum wage, I'd be still making $2.35 an hour. I don't understand the idiocy of arguing against raising the minimum wage. I had an argument with my dental technician about it a couple of weeks ago. It was a very unfair argument because I have my mouth full of dental equipment. And when she was done with me, I said, but why would you, of all people who are an hourly wage earner, fight that? And she said, well, then I'll never be able to afford anything. But it's never been the case. It's never been the case. All the boats rise on the same tide. Yikes. Or I'd still be making $2.35 an hour. So that's about justice, is money. Now I have 2 Anglos that work for me, and they get $12 an hour and free food, and they get an awful lot of justified time off if there's surf. So if they're surf, and I know they're surf, I cut them loose. And then I have one Mexican who works for me, Florencio Suarez, and he gets the equivalent of $14.25 an hour, which is $800 a week, $800 a week. And I pay him no matter what, and I just leave it up to him to make up his time. And so he's living in a time machine like H.G. Wells, in which 1 week is the equivalent of 1 month in Mexico. So he's going home for his daughter's quinceanera, and he's not going to be able to come back. The quinceanera is the 15-year birthday, the big girls coming out, kind of like cotillion or something, or it's like the big coming of age party for a woman in Mexico. So we're going to see if we can wing it without a Mexican, but winging it without a Mexican is going to be real tough, I'm telling you. because those guys are really, really good horticulturalists. And I was making a joke about how, they always boss me, but they always have told me, for all the time I've worked with Mexican labor, they've always told me what it was that I needed to do, whatever it was. And if I don't do it, they will say, you told me yesterday that you were going to knock all that down, or you were going to trap those gophers, or you were going to bring me some new whatever it was, and you didn't. And so, like, I get slapped around a little bit, and I deserve it. So that's the justice and the money part. The local is, so this Farm and the Cook is a 3,000 square foot building with 46 employees in it, and it has an awful lot of produce going in and out of it. And so I have arbitrarily set myself up as the certification king for organic in my region, because nobody in my region is going to get registered with the state, or they are going to get certified by registered in the county or certified in the state. Ain't gonna do it for a lot of different reasons. One is a hassle, another thing is the money, and I don't see why Gwen and Glenn are going to go and register their 3 lemon trees. Just don't see it. So people will haul in bags of lemons, Haas avocados or bacon avocados, whatever it is, and then I will interview them. If I know them and I've interviewed them before, then I don't have to interview them again. And so my interview, in order to determine if they're organic, is to ask them about their, what kind of herbicide they use, or do they just use a little bit of urea for fertilizer. And then one of the measurement methods that I use to determine if they're organic or not is how angry they are that I should imply that they've been using chemicals. So if they get all bug-eyed on me, they go, "What? Okay, you passed. All right, thank you." And so I buy, I'm very wary of buying from people that I don't know, and especially something that's too good to be true. Avocados, lots and lots of avocados that suddenly arrive that are 50 cents or $1 per pound cheaper than anything else. I figure he stole those avocados. And that's organic, and that part of the food system has to do with buying and using all this produce that's grown in Ojai, which is still semi-rural, formerly all agricultural area. You see abandoned or forlorn, orphaned rows of citrus trees in front yards. You'll see 6 tangerine trees or 5 navel trees orphaned in someone's yard from a former orchard. And so we're dealing with a lot of that surplus. The store is an all-organic store, and I really shouldn't be using the term because of course, the store itself is not certified, and I've set myself as sort of a pirate certifier as well. But as somebody once told me that I'm ascribing to a higher law. I like that idea so much, of ascribing to a higher law. So I don't mind breaking the law to ascribe to a higher one. And so the store has got a massive number of people. There's 8 cooks in the kitchen at all times. It's so bad I have a secret illegal kitchen on the other side of the store that I send people over to make tortillas or to make salsa. And I think we're gonna have to legalize it, because we've been living in fear of the government shutting us down because of this illegal little kitchen I have over there. And so in terms of the kitchen, we let them run it. About 10 years ago, my wife, when I were doing hippie food, we were doing nut loaf and pasta and stuff like that, and we were doing pretty good. And then she looked in the kitchen, and all of a sudden she said, "Why am I not serving Mexican food here?" Because the whole kitchen was full of Mexican women. And so they said, "Yeah, why aren't you doing that?" And so they went and they brought in all their own recipes, and so now they tell me what to plant. chili del árbol. You didn't plant enough poblano peppers last year, Steve. Don't blow it again this year, okay? That kind of thing. And and it's really a family operation because Rosa started cooking for us years ago. Now her two daughters run the kitchen, Lupe and Carmela. Lupe and Carmela's cousin, Leonila, also runs the kitchen, and then Leonila's friend back from her hometown in Guanajuato, they're all from Guanajuato State, she also is one of the cooks, and so it's really a tight little family. And just by chance, Hortensia's dad used to work with me a long time ago. So it's a quite nice combination of things. Don't have to worry about a thing in the back. Nothing in the back of the store. The kitchen is absolutely, it's like heaven back there. It's just full of laughter and nothing but good food and fantastic stuff going on. In the front of the store, as they say, not so sustainable. Entry-level food service. This is where those 1,000 people have come and gone. The young people. They're like, I know, as a joke, people will walk by and say, "Yeah, there goes Eric. This is employee number 527." And he was with us for 3 months or 13 months, and for the most part, we know that we're going to hire them. That when they're out of high school or in high school and they're still good kids, and we figure they're going to move on anyway. We ask them, like if they're in high school, if they're going to go to a 4-year right off, we might not want to hire them unless they're really, really good and we need them because they're going to leave. We're going to spend a lot of time training, and so it's tough to buy into that. The ideal hire for the farmer and the cook is a recently returned woman who has a 4-year degree in art from the University of Maryland, who grew up in Ojai and went to Nordhoff High School, and now has come back to live with her parents and to figure out what she's going to do next, and she knows she's going to not go to grad school at least for a year or so. Bingo. So they come in like that and they remake everything in the store, and they put together all this fantastic invention and creativity, and pretty soon I'm working for them. And this is the way it's gone with an awful lot of our very best employees. They have fit that model. But I've had really good high school kids that I've had the pleasure of working for too. So that essentially encapsulates our food system in Ojai. We have a nonprofit that brings all the kids to the farms. We have a couple of different farms that they come to, and so we plant carrots every year for the kids, for the third graders. Every third grader in the valley always comes to the farm every year. We plant the carrots for them, we take care of the carrots for them so that on that very day, in that month, they can come and pick a carrot, and then their mother can come up to me at the store later and said, "I never thought that he'd ever eat a fresh vegetable till he picked his own carrot," and that's all he wants to do now. So that's part of the deal. It's like teaching the kids, demystifying the carrot, and then they kind of want to show off. It's pretty easy to do. They don't know what we're doing to them, of course. And so all the kids come. We also do a lot of organizing. We work with Patty Pagling and the Transition to Organic folks. They're attending here too, and so their job is working with the city and the county to try to diminish pesticide use. And so other than that, that's what we do locally, and I think that's a good place to stop.
I've got to introduce Nayamin, who's already spoken to us twice, I think.
One more time.
So Nayamin is the director of the Central California Environmental Justice Network. Prior to joining the network, she worked for the Madera County Public Health Department as a health education coordinator.
And he puts up the slides. So
I hope I can still provide additional information different to what I had shared in my two previous presentations. This is really sharing some stories of how in the county of Fresno, which I have already described intensively earlier, we can really do some organic farming. So I bet that by the end of today, you are going to know much more about Fresno County than you ever expected in your entire life. So, one more time, Fresno. Fresno has 1.88 million acres, and almost half of them are dedicated to agriculture. So that's a lot. And just to give you some idea, there's more than 350 different crops that are grown there, and that represents 5.6 billion of the California economy, not only for our region, but for the whole state. So we're that's our main economic activity, and that represents 20% of the entire county jobs. However, as I described before, not surprisingly, the use of pesticides is very intense. So we are probably we're always competing with Kern County for the #1 county for the use of pesticides. That's not a good thing, at least on my eyes, that we should be feeling proud of. But over 37 million pounds of pesticides applied in one given year. That statistic right there is from 2015, and all this data comes from the Department of Pesticide Regulation, because as you know, that when you use a restricted material, you are mandated as a grower to report the use to the Ag Commissioner. All that data is aggregated, and it's available through the Department of Pesticide Regulation. But, there's hope. I'm going to share two specific stories of one, a farm worker, a young man by the name of Carmelo Ventura, which he was invited to come, and I really wanted him to be giving this presentation instead of me, but he couldn't take the day off after all. Because as you will hear, he's just one of the 3 employees of the farm where he works, so they couldn't afford to have him gone for a full day. But Carmelo, it's a young Oaxaqueño. He was born in a small town of Oaxaca, Mexico, and was there, living there until he was a teenager. His experience in agriculture, as many other Mexicans, started at a very young age by helping in his father's farm, where he started working as when he was just 8 years old. Most of the crops that he took care of when he was in Oaxaca, of course, were corn, squash, and some of the commodities that are typical for the region. But back in where he was in Oaxaca, his experience was not using pesticides or chemicals as fertilizers for many reasons. For one, because the town where he's from is a mountainous area in a very remote area of Oaxaca, where there's hardly any way to get there. There's a lot of limited income for the families. They do mostly subsistence agriculture, meaning that they grow what they're going to eat. So it's not, they don't do like a lot of farming because they're going to sell it in the market. So they don't have a lot of income available to purchase any chemicals. Well, he migrated when he was just 15 years old and arrived directly in Fresno. And right away, 3 months later, he started working in the fields as a farm worker. He never went to college or, high school or anything. His whole idea was to keep on helping sustain his family, who all made the trip together and are now living in Fresno. As many other immigrants in the Central Valley, he was mostly working in the grapes. He was pruning vineyards, all the different seasons, the different types of work that are associated with the grapes in the different seasons. But the 3 years that he was working there, he never in his life received any pesticide safety training. That's despite that DPR claims that that's mandatory and that it's always been provided for farm workers. Well, he's just one of the many examples that we have that's totally a lie. But Carmelo got lucky because he got the opportunity to start a new beginning. He started working in Marion's biodynamic farm. back when I knew Carmelo, I knew his family since he arrived, because I used to work for another organization that help a lot of immigrants' families from Oaxaca when they recently come, adjust, and just find their way to establish themselves in California. So I knew Carmelo since he arrived, and I knew he started working in an organic farm, but I never have heard the term biodynamic until I interviewed him. Once I find out that he was not able to come, I did an interview, which is the information that I'm sharing right now with you. So, have you heard of that term, biodynamic?
Yes.
Well,
I know that farm.
oh, that's where Carmelo works. So I'm sorry, this is totally new to me, but I was very, impressed that not only they not use chemicals, but they actually really go back to other methods of incorporating even the moon cycles and other things into really caring for the way they farm. So it's really taking into consideration having a healthy soil, and really taking care of the soil as a human or as a living being, not only like something that you fill with chemicals. So I think it's a very philosophical, approach to farming. I was really impressed of learning about it. And I think it goes beyond organic farming standards, really considering cosmic rhythms and other aspects of farming. So Carmelo is really impressed in how much he has learned at Marion's farm. Not only because, as I said, he's really happy that they don't use any chemicals, not for fertilizers, not for pesticides. They prepare their own materials, their own compost to take care of the soil. And he described a very interesting method that, again, was new to me, which was the cow horns. So I put it in Spanish just the way he told me, but I'll translate it. So basically what they do is they have cow horns that they fill with cow manure, and then they bury them in the soil, like deep, like 4 or 5 feet deep, and they stay there like for 6 months. When they unbury the horns, that manure has transformed into soil, very healthy soil that is used instead of a fertilizer. So he has learned a lot, and he has become inspired of, this should be other methods that other growers should be using. Now, his perspective, everything has a pros and a cons. So in his opinion, he really has liked working at Marion's farm for several reasons. The first one is that he's not exposed to chemicals in any way. One thing that bothered him a lot when he was working in conventional agriculture was that, even though he never was drifted with pesticide, he could always feel that there was something, like the residue in the plant or in the soil, make him feel like itchy or have a lot of allergies, and had even started to develop asthma when he had never had any other, type of respiratory condition back in his homeland. Since he stopped working in conventional agriculture, his health had improved a lot. He said he doesn't have that itchiness in his skin, he doesn't have that watery eyes, he feels that he's healthier. And another reason why he's healthier is because, I didn't add that bullet, I forgot, but now he has health insurance. Because this is a farm that only employs 3 full-time farm workers, they have the luxury of offering them not only a better pay, above the minimum wage, but also benefits like many other jobs offered to their employees. Some of the cons is that, he says, well, I wish that I was not the only lucky guy out of 3 who get to receive all these benefits. I wish that this was a more, spread model in agriculture here. But he's also aware that, oftentimes, that might not be a reality, because a lot of the methods that they use, even, how to take care of the weeds, are labor intensive. So he's like, yeah, I'm more tired because we don't use herbicides. We just pull the weeds out by hand or with a weeder or what have you. But, so he understands that it might be, at least for now, or in his opinion, a barrier for making it at a larger scale. Yeah, I'm almost there. The other thing is that he kind of like has as a minor criticism for the farm is that right now most of the products of the farm are sold outside of the region. So the only place in California where they sell these products are in San Francisco. Other than that, it's out of California. So, it's really good that they're producing all this healthy food, but it's not accessible to the locals. But that's the other thing that I forgot to mention, except for him and the other 2 employees, because they get to plant fruits and vegetables for themselves and their families, and they get to take them home for free. That's another plus. So that was Carmelo's story. Now, I'm going to just share briefly another really icon of organic farming in our region, T.D. Willie Organic Farm. He was one of the pioneers of organic farming in the Central Valley. He owns a farm in Madera, California. Recently, he retired, and but his farm has continued producing organic produce, and they are not personally running the business. They now transition all the operations to Food Commons, Fresno Food Commons, which is a local hub in Fresno, which is just south of Madera County. So T&D Willie, as I said, is one of the pioneers. He got the California Certified Organic Farm status since 1987, and ever since he had been not only producing organic produce, but really doing something that Marion Farm hasn't been able to do, which is letting these organic produce be consumed by local people. So he established a pioneer back then, a very pioneer method that I was one of the many who benefit from it. They have these boxes of the different produce that he farms year-round, and these boxes were sent to a distribution centers in Fresno, where you can sign up and you go and pick up your box every week, depending on the size. So it was great to eat organic, local food, and year-round. So that was great, and that's something that stays again, it remains under the operation of Food Commons. Food Commons is really a very innovative approach, because they really, are kind of maintaining and carry on the history started by T&D Willie Farms, but they are also expanding it into other strategies. For instance, now they have a local food hub that aggregates and markets products from trusted farms to restaurants and institutions. So they keep on distributing the produce of TD Farm, but in addition to that, they are now incorporating the produce of other organic farmers. So they are really helping them find a market for their products, and they have really been taking advantage of the food industry, the local food industry in Fresno, or restaurants, by selling all those organic products to not only to end consumers, but also to the restaurants. They had expanded our operations. Now they have a commercial kitchen where they are doing light processing of some of these fruits and vegetables. So, and then the last thing that they do, the booth. Oops. There we go. So the boxes of food that I had described before are now they have a very catchy name, Ubi. So out of our own backyards, it's like a farmer's market at your doorstep. So yeah, it's at your doorstep, because not only now you don't have to go to a place to collect your box. They have a system where you can get it distributed to your house, depending what size of your box. It could be for free, or you would have to pay a delivery fee. And just to conclude, I think that the lessons learned from the organic Fresno scene is that organic and other methods of sustainable agriculture are possible, even in a county as Fresno, where conventional agriculture has such a large presence. and that honestly, that's the way to go, because that's the way of really benefiting from all the things that these agricultural practices brings us. They nurture the soil, they improve the environment, and they offer us healthy produce for us to consume. So, thank you.
Okay, the next is Nathan Harkleroad, who runs Agriculture and Land-Based Training Association, farmer education course, supports farmers in their early years in the organic farm incubator, and manages a number of education and research projects. Thank you.
I think we might have the wrong slide deck up there.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Until you handed the mic to him, that's why.
Oh, right. Threw you off. Well, again, my name is Nathan Harkleroad. I'm the program director with ALBA. ALBA stands for the Agriculture and Land-Based Training Association. ALBA also means dawn in Spanish, which is really fitting because our organization is a place of new beginnings for our participants. And I'm going to talk to you guys about ALBA's core program, which is the Farmer Education Enterprise Development Program. You got to have good acronyms in this business. I've learned that after 9 years.
That's good.
And in terms of how ALBA fits into this conversation that we're having today, before I even get started, it's I've been really inspired and scared by a lot of the research that I've heard since I got here, and it makes me feel really good about my job, knowing that we're promoting organic agriculture, and our organization has been very successful in creating a strong pipeline of new farmers, organic farmers for our region. In fact, if you look at a Tri-County area, Monterey, Santa Cruz, and San Benito counties, around 75% of the Spanish-speaking farmers in that region have an association with ALBA. They're past participants. So that's pretty impressive. And for those of you guys in the audience, incubators like what we run at ALBA are something that's happening all over the country. So it might be something that you could take or adapt to your own region or food area and to use to create new farmers. Okay, so ALBA has a long history going back to even before it was ALBA. We have a pretty amazing land base that's been used since the 70s to really help primarily farm workers improve their lives through agriculture and entrepreneurship. And when you really boil down what our mission is, it's really about helping people improve their economic livelihood, create jobs, and improve their career prospects overall. And essentially we do that through two different services that we provide under FEED. The first of which is our farmer education course, or in Spanish we call it PEPA, for Programa Educativo para Pequeños Agricultores. And that's a 10-month-long course that we offer every year. And folks come in, and about half the folks come in are farm workers, the other half are a mix of college students. A few people managed to sneak in that are having a midlife crisis, couldn't decide between that red Corvette or starting an organic farm. We do manage to get a couple people that already have land too, that they just want to learn how to develop into an organic farm. And it's a very practical course. Folks can get college credit for taking the course through our local community college, and those units now lead towards degrees and certificates at the college level. But it's pretty much set up for, adults that are working or have other full-time responsibilities. So we're meeting a couple times a week. We usually have a lecture each week, and we have a lot of great guest speakers come in from different organizations and government officials and stuff that I've been working with for a very long time and have a good rapport with. We actually farm an acre together as a class, and that we run as a student enterprise, so folks can get a lot of on-the-ground experience, everything from putting seeds in the ground to connecting sprinkler pipes to overseeing a harvest to managing some of the food safety and organic certification paperwork involved in farming. And we go on a lot of good field trips. We like to visit some successful farms. We visit some of the local vendors. One of the challenges to getting started to farming is knowing where you can source your supplies. So we've learned over time who the local vendors are that are trustworthy and willing to work with small farmers. So folks take that experience, and then a subset of that group go on to our organic farm incubator. So that's the second service that we provide. And that's really designed to help reduce the risk and the costs and create a supportive environment for people to start their own farms. So we have 90 acres that we use for our incubator. Everyone that enters the incubator starts off on a really small piece of land, just a half an acre. And we subsidize the access to the land. The subsidies go down over time. Each year people can increase their acreage. And what's really unique and important about how we run our program is that each year that someone's in the incubator, they have milestones that they have to achieve in order to be able to continue. And the milestones are designed to help people move towards becoming fully independent of ALBA. In fact, they can only really be in the incubator for up to 4 years, and then occasionally we'll let someone stay on for a 5th year as a commercial farmer. And after that, they're leaving so that we have space for all the new farmers that come in. So we also provide a lot of help to our farmers while they're in the incubator. We help them with crop planning. We fully train them to use our tractors and equipment. We have folks out there helping them with production issues, forecasting, regulations. So, you know, most of the folks that go on into the incubator are the farm worker folks, and you know, they're a really good group to tap into for the next generation of farmers in California and perhaps across the nation, because they're really coming in with, a lot of times if they're immigrants, they have the farming experience in Mexico. The kind of farming that they're doing in Mexico, in a lot of ways, is akin to the kind of organic farming that we're all interested in seeing promoted, you know, across the country. They also have the work ethic to do it. You know, farming is just incredibly hard work. And given the chance, and we do have a lot, ALBA has a lot of exceptions to this too, but usually if someone has an opportunity that's higher paid and less hard work, they're going to gravitate towards that. Whereas the farm workers, you know, they're facing all kinds of barriers to advance. They might get paid $1 more to drive a tractor. They might get paid $1 more to move irrigation pipes. They can work really hard sometimes harvesting and make okay money, but they can only go so far. If they learn English, they might become a supervisor or foreman, but that's it. So folks really, the farm workers are really drawn to ALBA because they see the economic opportunity, this chance to pursue their dream. And I'll talk about some of the other benefits and motivations later on. And of course, you guys know, the population, or the average age of farmers across the country and in California is in the late 50s. So it's all great. We're all interested in food, but we've never been more interested in food and where our food comes from. But the hard reality is that people are not going out there and farming, okay? We need more farmers. So just to give you guys a little bit of context, so we're also in a almost $5 billion a year agricultural county, Monterey County. You know, we're the salad bowl of the country. So during certain times of the year, we're producing 80 and 90% of the salad across the country. That $5 billion a year industry employs 75,000 farm workers. It's not hard to promote our program. People are coming to us, and we have a wait list. So there's a real interest. We have a healthy stream of participants. If you went out there today, again, we have 90 acres, and it's leased out to many, many farming families. You'd see our class being run. We actually started at 1 o'clock today, and the students would be out there on their student enterprise, laying drip tape, weeding crops that they're managing. Farmers would be picking strawberries and romaine. Romaine's actually our #1 crop. Celery, zucchini, kale, packing them into boxes, putting the boxes on the big pallets, and trucking most of that product outside of ALBA, either going to farmers markets or delivering to to distributors in the local area. It's a real beehive of activity. So we're just one link in the chain of the way that we go about making new farmers in our region through the ALBA services. We've learned over time that we can't sustain all of the kinds of support that farmers need and new farmers, and that we need to rely on partners and bring partners in to fill gaps and help create a stronger pipeline and way to develop farmers. So we rely heavily on partners. Our focus is training them in the course, getting them on the land, getting a little bit of technical assistance, but then we're bringing in partners like California Farm Link to help them access financing, doing some financial education. When it's time for them to leave ALBA, they help do some of the land linking. We're also working with the Community Alliance with Family Farmers to come in to do some marketing education and technical assistance and run workshops. We have a private partner that we work with on food safety consulting. Food safety is huge, it's very time consuming, it's expensive, and we were actually an organization that was chosen to pilot a group gap certification for farmers where some of the costs can be spread out amongst a group of farmers in an organization. And our farmers, they're good at the farming. They catch on to the production so fast. Within a year, their crop stands up to a lot of the commercial companies out there. But they struggle with the business and the regulations. It's very different for them. We also work with Kitchen Table Advisors. That's a relatively new nonprofit that does one-on-one business coaching for farmers. They only take on a select number of participants each year, and a lot of those are our farmers. So we have to work with other groups. It's the only way to make it happen. So here's some of our numbers. Each year we're training 35 participants in our farmer education course. And actually 4 of them came to this event on scholarship. So you might be seeing Russ and Abraham and James. So feel free to talk to them later on if you want to know more about Alba. So in terms of the incubator, we have 40 businesses operating on 90 acres. And really, the number of people that we're serving is much larger because the folks that are farming the land are approaching it as a family business. So it's usually a husband and wife, and the kids have some level of involvement. And we're creating 90 jobs each year between the folks that are farming, and they get to a certain size, and they have to employ people. And overall, we've had over 400 people graduate the course. A lot of those have gone on to farm on our incubator, but we've had over 100 participants leave and farm independent of Alba. And through all the produce sales, we used to have a food hub, but we've sold a lot of farmer produce and put a lot of money back into the community. So the investment in Alba has been a good investment. In terms of the organization, so we're a 501c3 nonprofit. Our budget's $1.4 million a year, and most of that is coming from grants, about 70% from grants. And of those grants, 80% of them are USDA grants. A lot of them are year to year, so we have a full-time person on development, and we apply for 50 grants a year and hope to get half. So that's working of itself. We have 8 full-time employees, and we've been doing this for a long time, so we kind of get brought up a lot when folks start talking about incubators. There's a national level organization through the New Entry Sustainable Foods Project. They have an initiative called the National Incubator Farm Training Initiative, and we were one of the 6 founding groups of that initiative to help other folks with incubator projects. So we still provide that. We're still taking on that responsibility and leadership. So, it's, why organic? There's so many reasons, and I can't get back into the heads of the folks that were predated Alba. Alba's been organic since the 90s, and Alba wasn't started until 2001. But a lot of it has to do with our land base. So because of the premiums in organic, we could more people could farm on less acreage, so it's a better use of the land, more money in people's pockets. It also creates more jobs because there is more hand labor involved. And then when you talk to our participants about why they're at Alba, of course they're interested in getting ahead economically, but a lot of it comes down to family too. So Victor is one such example. That's who you see up there. He was working as a ranch manager for a large berry grower, and working 60-hour weeks, and his wife was a hairdresser, and they just felt like they weren't seeing their kids at all. And the idea of running their own farm really appealed to both of them. And so Victor took the PEPA course and started farming, and now they have that flexibility to go they work just as hard, probably, maybe more hours, but they get to be the boss, right? They get to go and drop their kids off, pick them up from school, and it's anecdotal, but I do see a lot of the kids of our farmers going to really great schools, to the UCs and CSU schools, and doing really well. Also, just the growth of the number of farmers that we serve has coincided with this boom in organics, and at the state, local, and national level, organics has been growing almost double digits for a very long time. there's 800 farmers markets in California, and our farmers have been able to tap into that and sell their produce. And I mentioned this before, but I think the organic farming really speaks to our participants' backgrounds, because it's very much, not completely, but there are a lot of similarities to that and how they were farming in Mexico before a lot of them immigrated here. Okay. So that's it, yeah.
Okay, our last speaker is Philip Ackerman-Leist. Is it Leist? Who is the author of A Precautionary Tale. He's a professor of sustainable agriculture and food systems at Green Mountain College, where he founded a 23-acre organic college farm and the first online graduate program in food systems in the U.S.
Great. Well, thank you so much, and it's nice to follow everything you all are doing, and Alba is something I've appreciated for a long, long time. So it's an honor to be here, and I changed things a little bit from what I was going to do this morning. Probably drove Garrett crazy, because I was hearing a lot of what was happening at, from various universities, and then also what wasn't happening at land grants, and so I thought it was worth telling a little bit of the story that I wasn't going to squeeze in quite so much of what we've been doing at Green Mountain College, because I think it does fit here in terms of organic, local, and just. And so I've got a two-part story for you here. One is about Green Mountain College, and one is about the project that I've been working on lately, and I think they both tie in. And with Green Mountain College, we're a small college, much like the organic farmers. We're small in higher ed and trying to find our way, and so sustainability is our bread and butter in terms of what we do, and we try to do it better than any other college in the country, and that ends up being our seal. And we play all of the varsity sustainability games that are out there and try to get the ratings, but we try to do it authentically, and we do it without a lot of resources. So if I were doing this PowerPoint, I'd tell my students that, or if they were doing it, I'd say it's too text heavy, but I'm just using the text as backdrop, because I think it's important to think about how far maybe we have come in terms of agricultural education and how far we haven't come. And so I've got a series of quotes here for you from Liberty Hyde Bailey, who was at Cornell, a really interesting person. Some credit him for being the person who helped women find their way into having official roles as faculty at higher education institutions by way of helping to create the discipline of home economics, but a very interesting person who I think was prescient in certain ways, in the ways that he was thinking a long time ago, and we still haven't solved this problem as part of what I'm trying to point out here. So now we do have a 23-acre farm that is managed organically. The vegetables and the poultry are managed organically, and but it started with half an acre, and I started by myself. It was out of my own pocket at the very beginning, my own labor, and with a half acre, and gradually now everything has grown so that we have this 23-acre farm, which was associated with the college, and you can get a little taste of it here. And so, I think the point there is you can start from nothing. When you start from nothing, you don't start from nothing. You start from values. And that's the difference between being at a place like Green Mountain College as opposed to a land grant or some of these bigger institutions. You're confined within an infrastructure, a set of operations, perhaps a set of values, and it's nice to start from scratch where the values are the very fundamental piece from which you build things. And so that's been really powerful, which meant that we could start with sustainable agriculture, organic agriculture, and build out from there. Oops, let's see. So this is the students wrote the mission for the college farm here, so you get a little bit of a sense of that. They also developed the what's it called? Not motto. The thing we use, the graphic, the logo. Thank you. And so it gives you a little bit of a sense. And I'm really, I'm so proud of the things that they came up with in terms of writing this about why you have a college farm, and the notion that they embedded soil health, animal welfare, food justice, and the needs of future generations. And so I think when we give the opportunity to young people to craft their own future, they do it in ways that surpass our own expectations and probably our own imaginations in many ways. And that's a really powerful piece. And so you can see a little bit of what we have here. Ooh, and there's a little bit that's cut off there. But, you know, Bailey's point, even in the late 1800s, was that you really have to have a campus farm in order to have the kind of education that you want to have, because everything is variable. It changes. It's always moving and changing, and you have to learn within that context. You can't learn on the other side of the lectern all the time, and maybe not even most of the time. And so I think we really have to shake things up in the way that we do education if we really want to get to educational systems that promote organic, just, and local. And you know, the other thing that Liberty Hyde Bailey also noted was that get out of the damn classroom. Take the students to the farms. Take them to the farmers who are successful. The farmers who, I mean, they're the ones. That's where everything is tempered. You know, is all of the ideals, and that's the thing. They come in very often to at least to where we are with high ideals, and there's nothing wrong with that. But part of my job now is actually tempering that idealism with the realities that they find on the college farm and the realities that they find when they speak to farmers. So we're really field-based, not just in terms of getting them out on the college farm, but I want them to meet as many farmers as they can, because those farmers are the inspiration. And what happens is that's how so many graduates end up staying in our region to farm, because they've been introduced to the farmers who represent their values, their management style, their work style. You know, it's contagious. And so they have the opportunity by the time they're done. Most of them, by the time they go through the curriculum, have probably met at least 40, maybe 50, 60 of the farmers in the region and been on most of those farms. And so they get a taste of those places, and they get a taste of why they might want to stay. And so that's where the local roots piece really comes. And so we've had a lot who've stayed, and that's been a really important piece. And I think Bailey was really exactly right, and I don't think we pay enough attention to it in higher education. And the other thing, and I never thought I would do this, well, I'll first say that, you know, Bailey here points out that we really have to break the mold. You know, the standard educational system, the way that we set it up, just doesn't work, and we have to be ready to be flexible and variable. And so we have a summer farm intensive where students stay for a semester, and they actually do it at literally a third of the cost of the other semesters that they do on campus. And they also cook their own food. So we have a community commercial kitchen. So it's fully integrated so that those 3 months they're staying, they're farming, and they're taking classes, and they're cooking for themselves at the same time. It's not when I started, we had a potluck and the students would come. They'd show up with Doritos and salsa every time. That was what came out. And now my office is in the farmhouse now above the kitchen, and then the smells waft up. And it's as good, it's probably better than anywhere you can eat in the rest of the community. It's just extraordinary what they learn. But then the other piece that really, I never thought I would do online education. I thought it was a crock. I just did not believe in it and was adamantly against it until I saw 2 online programs at our college really work. And so then after I saw those work, I proposed to the administration that we do a third in sustainable food systems, which turned out to be the first in the country. And so now right now we have 95 students who are enrolled in the program. We have 92 graduates, I believe at this point, just 7 years later. And these are people all over the country. The average age, I think, is 36. It's about 60% women, 20% veterans. We've got about it's over 20% dietitians now. And these are incredible people who are working in their communities, doing amazing work. And either they've hit the wall in some sort of way, or they want this extra illumination. And so, you know, we have what I call either the horizontal leapers or the vertical jumpers. So you've got the folks who want to get into food systems and are trying to find their way, and so that's how we help them do that. Or they decide that they're trying to make their way up in their own, in their own sector. So that's a really important part of what we do, and it's meant that we've stretched. So it's no longer local, and yet we're allowing these students, there's a praxis component of the online education where they're always thinking about what we call their home bioregions, and that's what their assignments are based on, and getting them out to do interviews and sending them out to go do farm interviews. They think I'm crazy when I assign that, but for some of them it's the first time that they've done that, and they may be in the cities, and so then we give them other options for that. So That's one way that I've been viewing this, and then this is the other way that you'll hear more about tonight if you're still alive when we do the final keynote. And I'll tell you, I don't want to give it away here, but there's a beautiful and a dramatic story that I think is waiting there, not because I've crafted it, because I've just been able to script it for the people who wrote it themselves, this community in the Alps, which became the very first community in the world to have a referendum to ban all synthetic pesticides. I mean, it's really an extraordinary story in what they've done. And so, but I've realized in all of this, in teaching sustainable ag, I have my own farm at home. I love the soil. I like to be dirty. I like to be outside. But I also realized we failed in storytelling. And we failed with the narrative. If we haven't captured 5% of the market by any stretch, whether it be organic or local or fair trade, we haven't done it. So we haven't captured the narrative. And not only have we not captured it, we've not reclaimed it and pushed it out further. And so part of this project, in working with Douglas Gayton of the Lexicon of Sustainability and some other collaborators, has been to try to capture the story, because these are the stories, just as they are at the rest of this conference, that have to be told, that it is possible in order for people to have organic communities. It's viable, it's there, and it's waiting. We know how to do it at this point. And so this is our team as we've gone out over the past, took us about 2.5, we're still working on it. This is over 3 years that we've been doing this and trying to grab the story in as many ways as we can. By video, by audio, by virtue of writing, photography, the pop-up show that you've seen that's outside by the buffet line. And, And, click, click, click. Well, yeah, PowerPoint. I like Keynote, but anyway, and the way that they did it was by using the precautionary principle that we've heard alluded to several times over, because that is such a powerful tool for a community to use. If that community if they want to be just and they want to be organic, then the precautionary principle is a critical tool that we don't use enough in the United States. And they created this manifesto that I'll talk a little bit more about tonight. So a manifesto calling for a pesticide-free future. And the beauty was they got everyone who had a PhD or an MD, everyone who had a doctorate, except for 3 people in the region to sign on to it. So it was the veterinarians, the dentists, the doctors, the environmental biologists. If they had that human health or environmental health degree, they signed on. And that was a powerful and compelling piece. And so they had this referendum in 2014. I'll tell the story more tonight. It passed with a 76% majority. It was extraordinary, but it took 2 years of just amazing guerrilla artwork and all of the collaborations they did. And the sunflower became the emblem, and it became not a ban pesticides campaign. It became yes to a pesticide-free future. They couldn't use, by virtue of their own edict, they couldn't use the words ban, no, not, never. Everything had to be cast in a positive light, and that was really how they did it in many ways. It was the key piece. And so the ordinances for the pesticide-free future, again, I'll talk a little bit more tonight, but they just went into effect on April 1st. It took them 1.5 years to write them, and they just went into effect, and so the news from there has been really interesting the last couple of days as this is pushed forward in the community. And Johannes, who is the spokesperson, who's the pharmacist, he gave this prescriptive kind of action of the things that you need to do in order to be successful within a community to have a pesticide-free future. And so I'll let you see those, and you'll see them again tonight. But having a pharmacist as your spokesperson is brilliant, because he understands his world is parts per million, parts per billion, and he knows how to talk the language. And now, this is just to give you a sense that I think this is exploding in really wonderful ways. So now the EU has a project for pesticide-free towns, pesticide-free villages. So they're beginning to pop up. They're documenting. They're talking to each other about how they do it. Switzerland, it may not pass, but they needed 100,000 signatures in order to do a direct democracy campaign, in order to pass, in order to put forward a referendum nationwide to go, to move away from synthetic pesticides over a 10-year transition period. They got 260,000 signatures. And it may not pass, but they made a lot of headway, and they were inspired by this one little town of Maltz as well. Denmark is very proud and moving ahead and investing in organic. I think they provided 75 million euros over the next 5 years for pushing forward the organic industry within Denmark. So they have the highest purchasing of organic of anywhere. And they're using that to tout their country and to say, we're leading the way and we want to take it further. We want to get beyond where we are now. Oops, let's see. And Vandana Shiva is moving forward, and I hope folks will sign on. I'll talk about it tonight just a little bit more. A poison-free campaign, which is international, trying to link communities that are interested in being poison-free. And interesting with the terminology, she's using poison-free as opposed to pesticide-free, because she wants to be able to embrace some other things, including GMOs and the work that she's doing. And finally, if you haven't seen it, Douglas, the collaborator I've been working with, just finished this for the NRCS. And this is about, there's a 5-part video series. Douglas spent 2 years traveling the United States, paid for, fortunately, through our government, through NRCS, to go find organic farmers all around the country and document their stories in a pop-up show similar to what we have here with this 5-part video series, which is there. The pop-up show, actually, you can get free from NRCS to show in your own community. And then they also have the website here. So I think that got us there. Thank you.
Great.